Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Paul. Today we're going to talk about the C, or the self-evaluation exam that we take in CRNA school. This exam is used to assess your knowledge on everything anesthesia, and nurse anesthesia students have to take this exam in their program once or twice. A lot of you have reached out to me saying that you're going to take the exam soon and asking for tips on how to prepare for it. And so we're going to talk about the exam a little bit and then dive into how I prepared for it and what I plan to do for the next time that I take it. Most programs require a specific score on the C, and that score varies from program to program. And it can be used in order for you to move forward into the program or in order for you to start clinicals. On the other hand, some programs don't require you to pass with a certain score, and it's just used for you to evaluate where you are with your knowledge on anesthesia. The timeline when you take the exam also varies per program, so not everyone takes it at the exact time within their program. So for example, in my program, we take it once in our junior year and then another time in our senior year. So I've heard from other students that sometimes they take it while in didactics and they haven't had clinical experience yet, or they take it after didactics while in clinical. So it really varies with how much knowledge that you've already gotten in didactics and clinicals. I took my C for the very first time this past fall. It was right after finishing didactics, and we started our specialty rotations right off the bat from there. So it was challenging starting new rotations and learning how to do these new specialties while being in class full-time and finding time to study for the C. This is very common in other programs as well, so you just really need to find the time to balance and try to study as much as you can. With that being said, some people may have way more time to study compared to others, and it really boils down to the quality of the content that you're studying and your ability to retain it within that time frame. So first, let's talk about the exam itself. I won't be talking about specific information of what I saw in the exam, just to protect the confidentiality of it. But I will tell you facts and things I know about it and how I prepared myself for the exam. So all of this information that I'm going to tell you is on the NBCRNA website on their C section. And the C is a 240 question exam. It is a pretty lengthy exam. You are given exactly 240 minutes, which is 4 hours in total to answer 240 questions. So it's a computerized adaptive exam that has multiple choice questions, multiple correct response, short answer or calculation questions, which require you to do some math and knowing equations, drag and drop, and hotspot questions, which you may be familiar with if you use Apex and Prodigy. According to the NBCRNA website, this is a computerized adaptive testing that allows individual candidates to take questions with difficulty levels adaptive to their ability levels, thus enhancing the measurement precision. So the difficulty levels do vary. You will get some pretty easy questions and some that will require you to think more critically, but essentially with the 240 question and 240-minute limit, you only really have a minute per question. I think the length of the exam is definitely a big challenge for a lot of people, and it's something that you really have to get used to and build that stamina. And what truly helped me build that stamina for that long exam are the mock exams on Apex and Prodigy, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. During the exam, I found myself rushing towards the end of it because I am the type that really takes my time reading through the questions and the answer choices, because I have been burned many times in the past from trying to read questions too quickly and I miss even just one key word or information. So you need to find a good balance with reading thoroughly, choosing the right answer, and move on. You really can't spend much time dwelling on one question because you're so unsure between two answers, which is what happened with me. And sometimes you just have to trust your gut and pick an answer and move on. So after we finished didactics, we had about 2 months or so to take the C. We were given a deadline for when we were able to take it, and we needed a score of 410, and that is the score for our junior year. If we don't get that score, we're able to take the exam until the end of spring trimester. So you have a couple of months and unlimited tries in order for you to get that score, or else you'll be dismissed from the program. That is for our program, and like I said before, it varies within each program, so make sure you follow whatever your program has in place for their rules. And for our senior year, we need a 427. Some programs require a 400, some require a 450. So it can be a big range. And some of the SRNAs that I've talked to that are in programs with a higher score said that they were given more time or they haven't had clinicals yet. So they've had a good chunk of time to study, and it was pretty realistic for them to get a score in the 450 and higher. So it's completely possible for you to get a really high score. It's just a matter of how much time you put in and how much you study for it. I passed the first time I took it. We needed a 410 and I got a 414. I studied for about a month and a half. We were in clinicals for 4 days out of the week while in full-time classes. It was incredibly challenging to find time and energy to study after a long day of clinicals. I definitely had to push myself and try to study as much as I can. I studied all of those days that I was off while balancing my schoolwork as well. I really wanted to pass it the first time, so I made sure that I gave it my all and studied my best for it. For the exam itself, it was lengthy and it varied in difficulty levels, and everything on the NBCRNA-C content outline is fair game. You can see the content outline on their website, and it lists every section and everything that you could be tested on. You can see that the score for your C is broken up into different sections. And the first one is your basic sciences, which is your anatomy, physiology, and pathophysiology. It also has pharmacology, chemistry, biochem, and physics. Next, you have your section on equipment, instrumentation, and technology. And I've heard a lot of people struggle with this section specifically because a big part of this is the anesthesia machine, which they can ask a lot of questions on, and it's not something that you get asked in clinicals a lot. It's something that you really have to review yourself and go through all of the components of the machine. In that section, you also have your airway equipment, monitoring devices, and imaging like ultrasound and MRI. The next section is general principles of anesthesia, and this is packed with a lot of anesthesia content, from legal to ethical issues, to positioning, fluid resuscitation, airway management, local anesthetics, and pain management. The last section is surgical procedures and special populations. This entails your different types of surgeries and procedures and your anesthetic considerations for them. You also have your pediatrics, geriatrics, OB, and a big one, which is obesity in this section. A big population that we take care of that has a lot of anesthetic implications are the obese population. So we really need to know how we can safely take care of them when it comes to their airway, their oxygenation and ventilation, and they also come with a lot of comorbidities that can truly affect our anesthetic plan. As you can see, there are so many questions that they can ask from all of these sections. Do not get overwhelmed with how much you have to study. Many of these concepts are basics of anesthesia that you've learned in didactics and in clinical. You'll be surprised with how much you know while you're studying and actually taking the exam, that they all come back to you because it's just engraved in your brain at this point because you see it so much. So first, let's talk about what I did the first time that I took the C, and then I'm going to talk about what my plan is for the next time that I take it. In that 2-month period, I used Apex, Prodigy, and Valley Review. The Valley Review was a 3-day in-person review that was provided for us from our program for free. So that was the only thing that I didn't pay for out of all of those items. We've used Apex all throughout our program. It's embedded in our tuition, and so it's been paid for technically by us, but it was through our program. I love Apex. I think it is such a good resource and a great way to learn and review through the modules. I also did all of the mock and domain exams on their website. I tried to go through as many modules as I could, and because I was in a time crunch, I didn't have enough time to go through the entirety of the modules, but I did review and focus on the topics that I was unsure about and I knew that I needed to go over again. And for the mock and domain exams, I would write down the rationale for the questions that I got wrong or the questions that I knew I needed to review. And so that was the time-consuming part, but it was very necessary for me to understand concepts and really embed it in my brain again. Apex also has study plans on their website that you can follow. It varies by weeks, so if you have 14 weeks or 12 weeks until you take the C, you can follow their specific weekly plan. Essentially, the longer plan you do, the more you can cover and the less you have to do each week. So that's a good resource if you like that structure and something to follow by. I think the mock exams and practice questions are extremely helpful because they help you learn the different types of questions that you see, and you'll learn different test taking strategies that you'll learn how to eliminate incorrect choices. And I found that reading through modules just was not enough for the information to stick. And what really helped me retain information and bring back that content was through the practice exams. And there are mock exams that are 240 questions long, so you can really gauge how you take exams for that many questions. I've had SRNAs and CRNAs that I know recommend Prodigy to me, and once I tried their practice questions, I absolutely loved it. It looks exactly like the C, so it's very realistic with the format. And they have a ton of practice exams, and you can narrow it down by specific sections. If you know you are weaker in one, you can do a practice exam just on that section. You can also do exams just on hotspot questions, and it helps so much just by seeing the different anatomy and the different nerves that you have to put a specific hotspot on. Those are easy questions on the C, but you just have to know the exact location of the hotspot, or else you'll get the question wrong. I think the domain exams on Apex are a little more challenging, so don't feel discouraged if you get a very low score on it. I think that Apex and Prodigy both do an amazing job with preparing you for test taking strategies and for the actual content of the exam. I think the Valley course was a good review that covered a ton of subjects, but it was very fast paced because they had so much to cover within those 3 days. I think having a live instructor just gave a different way of learning things compared to Apex or Prodigy. So I did about 100 to 150 practice questions per day leading up to the exam. I had clinicals 4 days out of the week, so I would do practice questions during my downtime or sometimes in between cases. So I did that for about a month. I was very consistent, and during my days off, I would try to do as much mock exams as I can and just keep doing practice questions. The last week prior to the exam, I would do a mock exam every day, the same time that I would have my actual exam. So my exam was at 8 a.m. I would wake up that week prior and I would take that mock exam, the whole 240 questions, and take the 4 hours or less just so I can build that stamina and get ready for it. I also took my time understanding the rationales and why I got the questions wrong, because they can ask the question in so many ways on a certain subject, and you can't strictly just memorize and get through it. You actually have to really understand these concepts. Another thing that really helped me were mnemonics and acronyms. No matter how silly they are, they can help you so much during the exam, especially with questions that make you rank and questions that have a lot of numbers. That is just pure memorization. Make it easier for yourself and find ways to help you remember things easier. So the next time I take the C is in about 9 to 10 months in my senior year. So I have a little bit of time, and going into this next exam, I plan to give myself way more time in advance. I plan to study way ahead of time compared to what I did last time and really give myself at least 4 months to study for it. And for right now, I'm gonna make time to review concepts and do practice questions so I don't lose that knowledge over time. And in those 4 months leading up to the C, I plan to follow an APEX study plan and really stick to it. I'm gonna go through all the sections, focusing on sections that I know that I need to review on more, and also review the weakest sections that I had on my last C. I'm going to keep doing practice questions and mock exams just like I did last time. And so the main difference is that the amount of time that I'm gonna put in is gonna be a lot more. So I'm not rushing going through all the concepts. After going through the C the first time, I felt like I went through 40 or 50% of APEX. I know if I just went through more of the modules that I would get a higher score for sure. I hope you guys found this video helpful, especially for those who are nervous about taking the C soon. Don't be overwhelmed, just study as much as you can and really try to understand the concepts. And during the exam, take it one question at a time. Don't let the length and how many questions you have to get through get to you. And remember that you know this stuff. You have been living and breathing anesthesia ever since you started this program or even prior. I'm sending you all of the positive energy and the best of luck. I know you will do amazing. You just really have to put in the work. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.